The tank man, as he became famously known, he clambered up on top of the tank. The turret opened, the commander put his head out. Tank man then started remonstrating with him and giving him a lecture.
As the army still massacres unarmed protesters in Beijing, the authorities have foreshadowed a continued purge. The Chinese military said the bloody recapture of Tiananmen Square from pro-democracy demonstrators was just an initial victory.
I'm speaking to you from the 10th floor of the Beijing Hotel, which is only just down the road from Tiananmen Square. As I speak, tanks are rolling in down the main thoroughfare towards Tiananmen Square.
I was privileged to be an ABC foreign correspondent for a number of years, reporting from about 30 countries. One of those was China, and in 1989 I was there for the Tiananmen Square massacre, the only Australian television reporter there at the time.
There's sporadic shooting. Just a few minutes ago we were trapped, myself and a cameraman were trapped outside the hotel, and all of a sudden the tanks started rolling down the street. Bullets, the guns, automatic weapons opened up, people were diving for cover. The gunshots were coming from only 20 or 30 metres away.
The scenes were incredibly difficult to take in live like that. You were seeing people either injured, wounded or dead. There were tanks and armoured personnel carriers came in from the south and the west of the square, and they were sporadically firing machine gun from the top of from the turrets. They were running over people, including some of their own soldiers. There was a young girl who was run over on one of the bridges on a bicycle, and her body was still there several days later. We were watching all this unfold from the balcony of the Beijing Hotel, which was diagonally opposite Tiananmen Square, so we could see everything happening there. We were able to see and film all the carnage and chaos that was happening in the early hours of the morning. There was a lot of eyewitness testimony, and it described how young women were bayoneted, how a young mother was trying to get to her 3-year-old, was shot. Right below us was a bus on fire. The pungent smell of glass and acrid and paint and everything else, I can still smell it today sometimes. And one of the things I learned from this event, this tragic event, was that luckily I had the temperament for conflict zones. And I learned a lot off the camera team, the ABC camera team that I was with, particularly the senior cameraman called Willie Phua. He taught me how to make those judgments. He made some really good judgments during our time then, when not to go out, when to stay inside, and when to go out and seek our own footage. During that early morning, Willie called out to me, "Max, you've got to see this." So I raced out of the room and looked in the eyepiece of his camera, and there was this guy with 2 shopping bags standing in front of the tank. You feared straight away for him. And the tank had stopped, and behind the tank was a complete column of tanks. The tank man, as he became famously known, he clambered up on top of the tank. The turret opened, the commander put his head out. Tank man then started remonstrating with him and giving him a lecture. He said something along, "Why have you brought all this chaos to our city?" He then got back down onto the street, and Willie's filming all this. And the tank tried to manoeuvre past him. And then it was a feint and parry situation where the tank would try and go left, and the protester would jump in front with his 2 shopping bags. It would try to go the other way, and he would jump in front and stop. We had our hearts in our mouth, because we thought at any moment he could be just shot by one of the many Secret Service snipers that had been around Chang'an Avenue. It was one redeeming moment of the whole affair. It became an iconic image. The ABC is very proud of the fact that its camera crew, Willie Phua particularly, was one of the 2 cinematographers who filmed this moment, and so instantly we were part of history. It was part of the great history, one of the most iconic images of the 20th century. And it has lived on. That moment has lived on because it's become a symbol of resistance and a symbol of people power, if you like. And it's something, of course, I'll never forget.